Waxvillain, Seattle, Washington. You already know what it is. Welcome to Waxvillain Fireside Chat. We got Tiny Blips pulling up from Florida. We got Act Daddy pulling up from Florida. It's a Tiki Tumbao kind of thing, y'all, and we're going to talk about this record right here. Keep it locked. We'll kick things off real soon. Shout out to everybody on the line. We see it. Tiki Tumbao in the building. Yeah. Let's see here. We sent the request. Let's give this another shot. There we go.
What up?
Balance, hey. What's going on?
Chilling. How about yourself?
What's up, man?
Oh, man, I'm fantastic. Trav, it's great to see you again. Tiny Blips, my man, it's great to meet you.
What's up? You too, man. Wonderful to meet you.
Yeah. How y'all doing today?
Good. Yeah. I went to the beach earlier, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. Yeah.
Are you feeling fully recovered? You were under the weather the last time we talked. I was concerned.
Yeah, I was concerned too. Yeah, I don't know if it was COVID. Every time I get on a plane to New York City, I come back with some sort of viral infection. So, you know, not, mostly respiratory. Let's leave it at that.
Hi-yo.
No, I'm married. I love my wife. What up, Dorian? Love you.
I love it. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and kick things off. I want to welcome everybody to Waxvillain Fireside Chat. Fireside Chats are similar to interviews. We take the time to do the research. We want to make sure that we're not duplicating efforts. More importantly, we want to support and strengthen what's already out there. Today, I am joined by Tiny Blips and Travis Acker of Tiki Tumbao Records. Tiny Blips dropped the most recent 45 from the mighty Tiki Tumbao record label.
Yeah,
okay? This is a gem. I want to start off with some introductions, though. Tiny Blips, let's go over the basics. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and describe the sound of your music.
So my name's Jamie Newitt, and I'm originally from Wilmington, Delaware, which is just like a little city in a little state, but it's like it's essentially a suburb of Philadelphia, even though it's across state lines. So basically grew up in the Philly area, got family up there.
You should just say Philly, man. You should say Philly.
Yeah, I know. A lot of times us from Delaware, man, we round up to Philly, we just round up, but I got to keep it real, man. I'm not actually from Philly, but it's like everything I grew up with, Delaware doesn't really have its own identity. It's really associated with Philadelphia or, like Baltimore. It's like the lower half of Delaware is like Baltimore. The upper half of Delaware is Philly. So it's like I grew up with Delaware doesn't even have its own like news stations. It's all Philly radio, Philly TV, So I feel like I'm from there, but got to keep it real. Not actually from
very
there.
Cool. Very cool. Oh, go ahead.
But yeah, so grew up just kind of working on music, and my mother's a full-time musician. And my father's a painter, an artist, and art teacher. So got the stuff coursing through my veins,
Great environment for that. Wow.
Yeah, totally, man. And to describe the sound, I guess I kind of landed on, I kind of say like lo-fi indie soul.
Yep.
But it kind of takes some different forms. There's like some hip hop stuff in there. There's definitely obviously soul music in there. Some jazz influences and R&B. So, it's kind of, but then a little experimental too at times, I feel like. So it's in there. It's kind of in that wheelhouse.
I think that's a great description. And to follow up to that, I would love to have you give us a lens into the music that influenced you growing up. Clearly, with music and art in the house, I'm sure you were around a lot, but give us a lens into what it was that influenced you, what was going in the ears, what you were seeing visually, that made you say, this is something that I want to do seriously. I really like this more than I like other things.
It's funny, man, because like I grew up, like I said, my mother's an amazing piano player, piano teacher, and like choir director and music teacher. So like I was playing piano from very early. I was always surrounded by it. My sister's also a full-time musician. She's wonderful. So we were always surrounded by it. And I didn't really catch the bug. It was something I always kind of had to do. It's like, you got to practice piano. You got to work on this stuff. I didn't catch the bug until it was on my own. So like I played piano from like probably, 4 years old until I was like maybe 10, 11 years old, and kind of like taking lessons from my mom. I was like, I was listening to her enough, I didn't want to be forced to do anything else more. So I kind of like stopped doing that, which I regret a little bit. But then I found the drums on my own from like going over to a buddy's house and like fell in love with the drums. And that was I feel like that was kind of like my own lane, that I could kind of explore with, and nobody else in my family played it. And it was kind of like uncharted territory. So I feel like I always had the music bug in me. And, like once I found the drums, I kind of really took off in my own direction. And that's really what got me to kind of where I am today, just learning about music and stuff. But everything that I was influenced by, like soul music caught my ear pretty early, man. So like, I fell in love with James Brown probably first. Wow. And then that worked its way into, like Herbie Hancock's 70s stuff, and that worked its way into Stevie Wonder. And Stevie Wonder was just full on. Once I discovered him, it was like, game was over, man. Like that's my favorite artist of all time. Like, Desert Island Picks, every one of his records, so then once I discovered him, it was all soul music and Motown and modern soul music too. And then jazz. I got heavy into jazz too, from that too, like straight ahead jazz, and studied it and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, it's heavy funk, soul, and jazz is really kind of where my heart lies,
I really love the way that I ask these questions, because, you got to describe your sound, and then you're kind of telling us the influences, and I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm thinking about the 45 and some of the other stuff that I've heard from you, and it makes sense. It really does. Now, when we talked prior, you referred to yourself as the one-man band. So I would love it if you could tell us what instruments you play. And you mentioned the drums was a mover, but if there's something else that's grooving right now for you, tell us what that would be.
So I primarily am a drummer for sure. I went to school, I studied drums. Like I said, like when I fell in love with them at 13, it was like just blinders, drum set, like nothing else mattered. I was studying jazz, and I did classical percussion in school too, but like it was blinders, drums, fusion, funk, and jazz stuff, like for years and years. And then I always I played piano too, like I said, so that was I always kind of had that going. I didn't really play it for a bunch of years when I was drumming. I was just kind of blinders, like I said, with the drums. And over the years I started tinkering, like I consider myself a drummer and kind of nothing else really, just a tinkerer at the bass and a tinkerer at the guitar and keyboards too. So definitely drummer primarily. That's what I do. I do a lot of session work too, and gigging on drums mostly. So that's the main instrument for me, but I definitely I mess around on other instruments,
Very humbled. I like that. Now, for my next follow-up question, you mentioned gigging, being a session musician. Who are some of the people that you were playing with? Tell us what the sound was. Is it anybody that we might know?
Yeah. So, the reason I'm in Florida and even know Trav is I play in a band called the Heavy Pets, which is like a long-time touring band. That's what brought me down to Florida originally from Delaware. So, yeah, I still play with those guys. We did a ton of touring over the past 15 years, a lot of festivals and club dates and all that kind of stuff, and have had some unbelievable experiences playing with them, and it's been amazing. We put out a ton of records and a lot of cool music. So that's been kind of my main gig for years. And then just getting down in the scene down here, I slowly started getting session work and doing studio work for other people, and then now studio work from home on my own. And then I've been doing some session work for here as well, for drum stuff with Trav and Tiki.
Yeah, we got a good Swizzlers. The first session in the new studio, Jamie played drums, and yeah, it's some powerful new
That's
Swizzlers
you on the
stuff.
drums?
No,
Twizzlers.
not on that first release. That was actually me
Okay,
on the drums.
okay.
That's him on the drums, dude.
But,
You don't even know about that. Maybe
yeah.
you do.
Well,
Yeah.
I remember you telling me who the Swizzlers was, but when I thought you were talking about, I had to verify. I needed to verify.
Yeah, the Swizzlers is it's Tom and I as a production duo. Tom's an upright bass player.
Yep.
I started playing drums, but you know, we ended up bringing in musicians so I can take on the engineering role and the you know, running the tape machines a little bit more in the live session. We were kind of piecing. The first Swizzlers record was recorded in pieces, whereas you know, our sound here at the studio, it's all about getting the musicians to play in together. And so to get that with the Swizzlers, you know, it requires me to be fingers on faders instead on sticks. So.
Okay, all right. So, Trav, I got to ask you, how did you come in contact with Tiny Blips? What do you remember about that first meeting? And let us know how everything kind of moved forward from there.
Yeah, I mean, Jamie and I probably known each other at least like 11 or 12 years.
Yeah, okay.
Gigging in the same scene. You know, he was in the Heavy Pets, who kind of filled a void for live music in South Florida at a time when a lot of the live music had quieted down, except for maybe like hardcore bands and like alternative stuff. And so I was in a band playing like American roots music mixed with kind of like funk and jammy stuff. And so we used to gig together. I remember this little spot called the Dive Bar.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually, I think, when I was talking about Antonio, a venue also there where I'd seen Fusick for the first time, which was his long-standing band.
Oh,
but
okay, yeah.
Yeah, it ended up being just a you know, great place that the musicians came to see other musicians. Bands started to form alliances, to do gigs, and to try to figure out how to, you know, we just all wanted to play, luckily. So, and if we could get some free drinks and, you know, up to $100 in our pocket, then we're happy. And, yeah, so, yeah, we met there. But when this Tiny Blips record came out, I had already been thinking about Tiki Tumbao and my own label. And I was just extremely impressed with the work. The Heavy Pets guys all had started doing their own solo projects, and I had followed them all. But this one was particularly unique and genuine, and I couldn't understand it. I couldn't wrap my head around it. And I think a lot of that is the way that Jamie does production. Is it's his own creative flow. It's you know, it might be a little more kind of like collaging and things, and really like excited to get gritty and to destroy, to find the beauty on the other side, you know. And the scene had been so focused on just getting the highest quality preamps and boards, and you know, it's everything sounding like power rock and everything mic'd directly and room mic'd, and this had the real, like, you could feel the space that he was in when he recorded it. Wow. And so the album itself, I immediately said, well, when I figure this out, I am definitely going to approach him about seeing if he would like to get involved in, you know, the label is a new thing for the group of musicians I've been associated with in South Florida. The focus on vinyl and on merchandising, everyone had kind of not made that a huge priority, or had dabbled and maybe found some success but never sustained for super long periods of time. Because I know the Heavy Pets had a really cool 7-inch production that they did, but the genre was in direct conversation with the DJs and the collectors like that. I've tried to involve Tiki Tumbao in that scene. So I immediately knew that his sound was going to be something that everyone in the country would like, and that still represented South Florida. Just, you know, because the label here, we want to engage everyone, but we're here to bring South Florida talent to the top and give them a lane to showcase to the country. So the whole record's it's on Spotify now. It was released in 2020, but I knew I had to bring it back and had to put it on wax and had to give it new face and new life and see if we can. You know, people work a record and then they get interested in other things, but I believe these records can be worked for years and years. They have long lifespans. It's just, you know, we've been taught otherwise as independent musicians. So
Yeah, true.
No, I love that. Now, a couple things for Jamie. Talk about life with, what is it, Inner Ocean Records. That was where you were previously. Can you talk about that chapter, how you're getting
he's
to...
still with Inner Oceans too, actually. The label is also very open-minded about in freedom for the artist. We're not in an exclusive agreement either. We go project by project. So.
Okay.
Yeah, totally. They're super cool, man. They're Canadian-based label, and their kind of wheelhouse is kind of I want to say like the instrumental kind of hip hop thing a little bit. That's kind of their main. And like they actually put out some jazz records too, like Straight Ahead and groove jazz and stuff too. But yeah, I connected with them a couple years ago when I first started putting out records, and yeah, like I said, they're extremely cool, man. They're like, they have a ton of artists who branch out and release stuff with other people, and the stuff that works for them, they're down to to put out, and they're completely cool with all that. But everybody should check them out. They put out a lot of tapes and a lot of vinyls too. So yeah, highly recommended.
Yeah, their beat tapes are awesome.
Beat tapes,
and the lo-fi, they're very Japanese influenced. So they have great fun branding. It's like it's in a really cool lane. I dig all the stuff they're doing.
Well, that was one of the things I noticed. And, your existing projects, not all on iTunes or whatever, or Apple Music, but beautiful, colorful artwork. Can you talk to us about where that comes from? I'd love to kind of learn a little bit.
For the artwork for my stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, so a bunch of it is actually my wife. She's a professional painter, professional artist.
Incredible stuff, really incredible stuff.
Yeah, it depends on which one you're looking at, but yeah, she's done a good handful of them, probably at least half of the like single art. And the last full record I put out, she did the art for that too. So and then the other ones, anything else, it's all, she's done a handful of them, and then everything else is like kind of photos I've taken and manipulated a little bit. That's kind of like, that's been my thing, and changing them up with just working filters and kind of just whatever speaks to me,
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I noticed, me seeing you right now, I couldn't find a picture of you online, and so I was really curious if the artwork, I think we used the word kind of collaging earlier, those were kind of the images that I was seeing when I was trying to find out who this guy was. Is that a factor into the presentation, your delivery as a musician, to kind of conceal and show in kind of a picture, an image for us to kind of imagine? Is that
a little bit? Yeah, honestly, this is the first interview I've ever done as Tiny Blips, to be honest. So you got that exclusive. But yeah, that's kind of the thing. It's like I never wanted to lead with just myself as a person. It's like letting the music and the artwork associated with it kind of speak for itself, and maybe there's some mystery around it a little bit, like who's this person? Some people have thought it's a full band. Hit me up and which is cool. I like that. That's kind of a cool thing. But just a little bit of mystery around it. That's kind of been my thing for sure.
I love that. For me, when I first started, it was hip hop that I gravitated towards. MF Doom was kind of that North Star of what I like to look at.
Oh, yeah.
Just when I'm listening to the music, right? And so when I don't see the musician, the band, I immediately think, oh man, now I got to use my imagination, to what's going on. And like you said, some people think it's a whole band. It's like, I absolutely thought it was a whole band. It sounds like a full song.
Yeah.
So I think that element is really cool there. Tell us where the name Tiny Blips comes from, though.
It's a good question, man. So before I started doing any solo stuff, I was thinking about doing it. I thought about doing this without making any moves on it for probably like three years. I was just like, I think I could put some stuff out. I think I could play some instruments and like make a recording, and I didn't. But the whole time I was like thinking about names that it could possibly be, and I had this like long list of names, and it just man, I don't even really know how it came about, but I kind of liked the idea, the visual idea of like, you know, the sound. I knew the sound I wanted to go for eventually, and it would be. I knew it would be kind of like lo-fi, kind of degraded, old sounding, maybe ish stuff. And I don't know the idea of like, you know, blips on a TV screen, kind of like, you know, I like that image, you know,
Yeah.
just like a whatever the VHS cuts out, and you have that just, you know, whatever you call that.
Static.
Yeah, the static, right? Exactly. So that, and then you know, Tiny. I think I had a bunch of different words before Blips, and Tiny was the one that kind of painted the best picture for me. You know.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Now, Tiki Tumbao, new label. You know, I've known Travis through Instagram for years, and
Yeah.
I'm just a big fan of him as a human being.
Yeah, me
Can
too,
you
man.
give people a lens into who Travis is? Give us a lens into the label from your perspective, because we're fans, and so you know there's lots of labels out there, but we would love to kind of get the inside scoop from you, just to help us connect deeper with the label and kind of understand how important Travis is to our scene and community.
Yeah, man, big time. Travis is a super deep dude, and I've known that since, you know, the day I met him, from conversations we've had about, I mean, about music and also about life, and just like over the years, long before Tiki Tumbao was, you know, I mean, when did you start thinking about doing this?
Well, when my fiance Lauren passed, I was doing a whole different music thing. I had built a live electronic music project out of using Ableton, and started to learn about sound design and production. When she passed, I kind of lost my taste for the genre and for the project I was in, and I went soul searching. And at some point, I've been a DJ for like 20 years, and I started collecting 7-inches because I was just tired of lugging 12-inch crates around to use singles, a single track on, you know, a 12-inch record. And so I just dug deep into the 7-inch game, and it started to lead me into these places. I was always familiar with Daptone, but even that wasn't, and I love their 7-inches. I collected them from the beginning, but I was always looking for old records. And then I started to find We Groove and Coal Mine and F Spot, and you know, there were some others on the East Coast, and then learn about, you know, Numero, and about you know, Athens of the North, and all of the UK pressings. And all of a sudden, it was just kind of, you know, I had the passion. Then I got the chance, you know, Jason Joshua. I went out to see the first Penrose showcase because I just didn't really know what to do with my life. I was kind of wandering. And so I went to Vegas and saw the first showcase, which was Los Yesterdays, The Sinceres, and Jason Joshua all performing together. And it was an amazing experience. You know, met everyone backstage, was there to support him in a big way. Which was awesome because our trajectories had always woven, but gone and come back. And he was always a support when Lauren was sick as well, because he's just one of my Miami people who I had a lot of just trust in at the time. And yeah, so then I saw what Penrose was, and I wasn't that aware of the Cali Souldy scene, but that totally revived my interest in my local community, not just in what was going on. And then I always knew about, you know, Henry Stone and Deep City, because I was able to talk to DJ with Spam, and I was able to talk to all the local record heads, and, you know, Why Not was always a good resource. And so learning about the Miami and the Florida funk and soul scene, which was like an amazing spark, but didn't necessarily travel that far. So it brought me back in to say, okay, like, you know, where's this talent coming from? I was there at Mango Hill during a peak of the industry in general and of that label. And so we were putting out like 2 7-inches a month. And I was there running the operations, you know, Jason at the helm, of course, and definitely creative and A&R and all that. But I was there answering the emails and helping with the fulfillment and figuring out what wholesale looks like. And so that was my testing grounds to say, okay, well, you know, what kind of business is this? And we've been so disenfranchised with the streaming community, the fact that it's very difficult to understand how the money flows to you, how many streams you have to get. And so it's so confusing. So it reminded me that the best business in entertainment is connecting with people. And the best way to do that is with direct-to-consumer merchandising and just providing things that people want to tie their identity to, because everyone has money and our power is money. And the way you spend it and who you give it to is how you transfer your personal power to someone else to create community. You know, money shouldn't be sat on, it should be circulated, because every time you invest in your neighbor, you are now strengthening your community, you're creating a new trust bond. So, you know, the label is a place for us to do this. And when Lauren passed, her family was gracious to still treat us like we had gotten married. And she had a condo and some things, and I was able to get some inheritance from that. And so I've reinvested all that money back into an analog studio and into this record production business. So it's my tribute to her. It's my finally having resources and knowing where they should go, because where the talent has been fostering and growing for so long. You know, this community that I'm bringing up is not just fly by night, just appeared. These are all people that I've watched play and fine tune their craft for 15 years. And they still have never found a path to bring it and bubble it to the top. So I'm here to see if I can't get into the conversation and insert the talent that we have there into that international, it's a beautiful international community. The record community has been just, it's been an obsession of mine. And so to meet other obsessed people is interesting.
Yeah.
But they're just beautiful people who love the music. And for me, I love every genre. Music lights my cells on fire. It's like, what gives me purpose. It's pulled me out of my darkest points. It's given me a direction to say, like, this is a life worth living, because I understand the legacy of music and community and what it builds for not just me, but the next generation. And that's the thing too, is I'm trying to build a catalog that is a story, so that when I'm done and dead, that you look at this and you say, look, here are the years, here are the people, here is the intention through words, photography, video, and through merchandise artifacts. And now I get to hopefully, you know, hand that on to the next generation, who will either reject it or take it, but maybe the one after that will end up being like, whoa, look, the land I live on has a tradition.
Yeah.
You know, and as Americans, we lose that too. Like, the land we live on has carried people, and we need to be aware of that if we want to grow as a community of human beings. So I know I packed a lot in there. I'm sorry.
No, but that
I love that. I love that.
That pretty much, you know, like, kind of answers the question. You know, there's a depth of perception and a depth of, like, you know, detail and caring about the community down here and letting it be known. And he's you know, he's got ears that are just like ears of gold.
It's all the ears.
Totally,
I'm
man.
Blessed with ears.
Yeah, for sure.
That was the mission and vision statement in one. I loved it,
dude. I mean, and that's real. I mean, if you want to ask why somebody would want to work with him, I mean, that just answered it. You know, it's like the vision. Yeah, like you said, the vision and the ears. And I mean, if you hear this guy DJ, or if you hear you know, anything he chooses to kind of associate himself with, it's really awesome stuff, man. So
very good. Very good.
Yep.
Well, here is the 45.
There it is.
In the very nice Tiki Tumbao jacket.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you see this, what is it like to see your record on 45 with these songs?
It's very cool, man. It's surreal, you know? Yeah. It's awesome. It really is. It's been a treat from I was telling him, I think I know I hit him up as soon as we got the test pressing, and you know, like, I couldn't believe how much better it sounded. Like, it translated to vinyl when I heard it. It was like it was meant to be on there, you know. And I feel like and I've said it before, but you know, I feel like some things I've heard. I collect a ton of vinyl. I buy new bands and old bands, and sometimes I don't notice as much of a difference, you know, with something on vinyl.
Yeah.
It's usually more of a new thing, you know, like a newer band or something. But I noticeably, and my buddy Amir, who mastered it too, it wasn't just me like psychosomatic style. I was like, we both sat and listened to it. And it was like, whoa, something magical happened.
I know that feeling, yeah.
Yeah, I know you know, and I know plenty of people know, but I had never experienced it before.
Yeah.
So like the warmth and like an extra just whatever,
Yeah,
like
it's a mid-high shift and a duck of super highs. And for his music, because Jamie loves like ether, little high bits that are always like really like present, but they're in a very high register, so your mind doesn't go there. So this kind of like pulled them down and pulled some of the center body of the songs out, and it really did take new, you know, it kills the streaming, the experience, between the record and putting it on, you know, on a computer or on a phone or something.
For sure, man. So like I'm you know, I'm over the moon to have it and to be able to share it with people, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity that Travis has given me. So yeah, like to hear them on vinyl, it's been surreal. It's been really, really cool.
Sure.
And the artwork was borrowed from some old Jamaican presses where this used to be one of the like standard prints that you would get. Like you're an indie label and they'll give you an option to put this in the back and then write your own stuff on top. So I kind of took that, and then Jamie added his cat, because this song's about the cat as the icon. And then on this side, it's a hieroglyph. So that's the hieroglyph for what, the sea, was it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
the beginning of that track starts with the ocean. I do a bunch of field recordings, so I took a field recording of the ocean one night. And yeah, that's the beginning of the track hieroglyph. Yeah.
Man, I gotta ask you, the very beginning of Little Parthenon.
Yeah.
That first 20 seconds is just like incredible. Like it melts me. Can you talk about what you were trying to give us with that? What you felt when you hear that intro, and then there's like the harmony in the background, but this that initial 20 seconds, I'm like, whoa.
Oh, cool, man. Yeah, so the beginning of the track is kind of like, you know, it's we're in a space where, you know, like, I mean, essentially the track it's about our cat being home alone until my wife and I come home, you know, from a night out, and we love our cat very much. So we tend to throw little dance parties and just toss on some tunes late at night and just kind of, you know, throw down. And the cat's always involved in that. So I had the idea of like we do that a lot, and it's just like a common experience that we have, and it's kind of like the ground and before we're home, and like what's happening with the cat before we're home, you know, like it's just kind of like a contemplative. You don't really know what's happening, right? You don't really know what she's up to. But and there's these like there's some couple little bloopy blop things that happen over top, and that's kind of like her scattering around. So it's kind of setting the scene, like just kind of an unknown scene of a house before people come into it, essentially, kind of.
That's super cool. And with hieroglyph, when we have the ocean, what ocean were you recording? Because somebody asked that in the comments, so I'm just
cool.
Kind of curious.
Yeah, that's actually that's Deerfield Beach, and it's funny because she's now my wife, but it was coincidentally the first date we ever went on. Very randomly, it just happened to be like we went down to the beach, and it was kind of like late at night, and it was just a particularly, like, the wind was really snapping and making like kind of a howl and like a whistle sound, and I was like, wow, this is insanely cool right now. And I do a lot of field recording, so I just took my phone out, and it was just this kind of howling wind with the ocean, and I recorded it, and it ended up being kind of cool because it was the first date we ever went on, and it just worked. It just worked super well at the beginning of that track. So that's the beginning. That's the beginning of it.
Okay, and then when we get into the meat and potatoes, what were you thinking as you were creating? What are we supposed to be envisioning?
For that track?
Yeah.
You know, it's a little abstract, I guess, but you know, I was kind of I had been reading about the like Egyptian hieroglyphs and stuff, and just kind of the history behind them. I kind of like the idea. It was kind of like it's kind of like a mantra, I guess. I'm just kind of repeating the words hieroglyphic, survive is the other words. Sometimes it's hard to tell what I'm saying, I think sometimes, but survive. So like just the idea of hieroglyphs, they've been around for like, I mean, 5,000 plus years or something like that. And they're messages that were written, written that it's what's kind of cool about them is that they're text too. It's like, it's art, but it's also language, so I always thought that was kind of a cool thing, but the fact that they survived for so long, it's like these messages that people wrote and they're around forever. And I kind of like worked that in, like my mind was thinking about that with art and also music and making stuff and leaving it for other people to discover. So hieroglyphic survive, just like, and it kind of what you were saying too, like,
yeah, artifacts.
Artifacts, exactly. That's a good word to look at for.
Digital world, what someone flips the switch and where does all that stuff go? Well, at least we can find a little needle. Maybe we can listen to this one again. Post-apocalypse.
Yeah.
I love this record, man, and I love these two songs. I just think the way that I connected as soon as that needle hit the vinyl and it's spinning and I'm thinking, and like I said, I like to feel music, not just hear it. So these are two very, very special songs, and thank you for giving this to us.
Yeah, man.
Trav, so we've got 3 now from Tiki. What does this brick mean to the catalog of work?
Well, this is the first one that I didn't produce, where I found someone who I saw doing something unique and special, and I wanted to figure out how to bring it in. So before the label was the story of building a studio and trying to bring in songwriters and talent and make that. And now, it opens new possibilities for other producers to come in and use the platform. I have a very interesting project with a group called The Glades that we're working on now, which is, it's really cool. It's Duffy, Adam Scone, and Addison Richmond. Yeah.
Heavy names right there.
So they have a self-produced record, and we're talking about what that could look like as a very interesting Florida side project for those guys, and then this group, the Resolvers, who Jamie knows well. They're a very long-standing South Florida reggae outfit, and they want to do something special with their catalog that they've built, and so we're in talks about taking their old productions and repackaging them, because they have 4 really interesting EPs with lots of different directions. So we're going to make a full album of it, hopefully, put out some 7-inches. So for the label, it means, and then Jamie, I just love this guy's production. He's still working, producing. He's going to still produce for Inner Oceans. He's got some stuff that's funky and different he thinks will hit with this lo-fi hip hop soul thing too. So we're going to keep working on putting out records, and as I have talent too, I might send projects to him to beef out and build more there. So we're building the stable and trying to get more people involved and give different flavors. And I love all these labels, and some get really niche, but who had a really great moment recently is Big Crown with their big showcase. And just I'm not saying we're trying to do what Big Crown does, but the more I'm finding talent, the more I'm seeing like this scape of, I have someone who is more R&B leaning. We have a lot of soul jazz, a lot of vibey soul jazz. Now we have some like lo-fi hip hoppy stuff. So, that kind of diversity of allowing stuff that could be from the 70s directly, and you hear it and you put it next to the record that it's meant to reference, and you say, this is perfect. Or something that says, we're not scared that there's a new perspective on old styles.
Right.
And we're happy to figure out what that is and how to make it all blend with the old stuff to continue this story. And we're not anti-digital or anti-new production, but we definitely are focused on getting away from quick production and getting back into this sort of let's go back to a traditional style and work within those constrictions. And it's been beautiful. So very lucky there, but that's what it is. It's a departure from it being a small project studio and a project label associated to now starting to figure out, well, who else is playing down here and would like to be a part of this this stream and path that we're creating.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. All right. I got one more question that Jamie asked all guests this. Travis has already answered this.
Okay.
Is there a quote or mantra that you keep close to heart? You know, whether the times are good or bad, this quote, you know, just kind of resonates with you?
A specific quote. Oh man, so that's let me think. I mean, there's one, the one actually that's at the end. It kind of depends. It kind of depends. So, like emotionally, I don't know if there's a quote that gets me there, but like, I can give you an album that gets me there. So, like, if I'm ever like the album that just, no matter where I'm at, if I throw it on, it's Signed, Sealed, Delivered, Stevie Wonder. The whole record, not the track, the whole record. Throw that on, and it's like I'll go from in the dumps about something to just like right back to ground zero. You know.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So musically, I'm inspired by a lot of things, but there's a quote, and I think you know it might be useful for artists or other musicians maybe too. There's a quote at the end of this of Hieroglyph. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And it's actually another field recording that I did at you know, there's like a British woman speaking at the end of the track.
Yeah.
And she says a bunch of things over the music you can't really hear until the very end. And she's talking about Matisse, the painter Matisse, and she said that he famously once said, you know, so what if I see the sky as pink? You know, like he would paint the sky pink, or he would paint, you know, various, you know, like the grass doesn't have to be green. I'm going to paint it blue, or all these different things, right? And he's just like, I'm going to paint what's in my mind's eye, you know, like, so what if it's not the color it's supposed to be, you know? So I put that on there because, I mean, I experienced it. I heard her talk about this on an art tour, and kind of recorded her without her knowing. But that actually was one that really inspired me to like kind of put this music out, actually.
Okay.
Just like, it doesn't matter what the standards are, you know, it's like you can go your own direction, and if that's what you're seeing and that's what's in your heart, then it's like, go for it. So, yeah, like a Matisse.
I love that.
Yeah.
Very cool. So how can folks stay up to date, looped in with what's going on with you? Where can we find you online? Where can we shop the new 45? What else should we know about Tiny Blips?
So really, it's really just the Instagram, and then I have like a little web page that I sell some merch on. Okay. I have some tapes and some t-shirts of mine as well, and then we got this.
Yeah, this is the release shirt. If you love the label,
what's on the front? Is the cat on the front?
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
Cat's on the front, dude. Got to get with it.
Yeah, so I'll give one of these away to our email list on Monday. So if you're listening now, go to tikitumbao.com and join the email list. I'll give away this as well as one of the special yellow promos.
Translucent electric yellow color variant.
Yeah. Yeah, this was, you know, the thing is with the promos, I've been trying to match the labels and the translucent colors. I don't know, everyone said translucent plays closest to just straight black as far as audio quality. And I found that, you know, back in the day, they did have some cool variants, but translucent seemed to be the most popular, like in the 70s when you find a real one. It'll be like a really foggy translucent red, or it'll be like, you know, a blue that you're like, damn, what is this, you know? So it's more of a nod to what I found they were doing back in the day for color variants, which were pretty rare back then, you know. It was like a gimmicky thing. So I mean, tikitumbao.com, but the Instagram seems to be where we're set up the most, and Facebook, and we have more, but Jamie's Instagram is super active and really fun, and him and his wife collaborate on stuff all the time, so she has great visuals. Jamie also does a live project where he has projections of visuals he's created.
Ooh, I'd like to see
that. Loop machine and
Yeah,
keyboard. Then, you know, he has guitars and saxes sit in, and he raps and sings, and he blends like hundreds of little vignettes that he's created into an overall set.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's a very unique thing. We're actually going to be doing it this Sunday at Technique Records in Miami.
Okay.
So yeah, all Miami people head out to Technique noon to 5. I also have Lula Rios, who is an amazing singer, bringing some Latin records to spin. Danny Naval, who's the conga player in Fusic and Tony and the Kings, he collects 7 inches from Cuba. He'll fly into Cuba and pull out a lot of the you know, the post-revolutionary funk stuff. And yeah, so he's got a very interesting selection. I'll be spinning some stuff, and Jamie will perform as well. So yeah,
it's gonna be a good time.
We've been trying to get out there and just promo, you know, all these records as much as we can. You've always been an amazing supporter, and I really want to thank you for always taking the time and energy to give us, you know, a platform and to help cross audience. You know, we're Seattle to Miami, so, you know, it's pretty awesome that we can all celebrate together and, you know, find love and interest, even with like this kind of separation, because, you know, this country is vast and beautiful, and there's all these cultural pockets, and we have to trust each other more and reach out and find the similarities more. It's just so silly how much we all fall into the fear, you know, whereas it's really the love that matters and that builds. And luckily the love always overpowers the fear if people choose to tap into it. So we just got to remember that, you know, we forget that too much.
Well, thank you so much for the kind words, and I just love everything that you're doing with the label. Happy to champion it. I love Jamie's record, and I want to kind of explore some more of your work, man.
Yeah.
It's right down my alley. I love that sound that you have, and it's great to see it, you know, front and center, indie scene, Tiki Tumbao, in a place where I can kind of share it like
Very
this.
cool.
So very good stuff.
We
I want to
appreciate
thank you guys
so
much for, you know, coming on today. We're going to continue to champion the record. We're going to be playing in the stories for everyone to see and hear. Any last minute words before we take off, y'all?
Oof.
Not Travis.
You know,
not Travis, just Jamie. Any last minute words for Jamie?
Last minute words.
I love speaking. So I'm the 7-inch pastor over here trying to
the double
preach
LP.
the gospel.
Yeah.
Preach the 7-inch gospel.
Yeah. No, man, I appreciate your time, really, and I love everything you've been doing, and like I love all the graphics and yeah, how much you're helping out the you know, the little indie guys, man. It's really cool. But yeah, I'm gonna release a track. I have another track coming out just digitally for now next month, so people can keep an eye out for that. And other than that, just working. Got a couple other things coming down the pipe with Trav. So
yeah, we have some interesting new recording projects up here. You know, I've moved up north an hour and starting to engage this community a little different too. So we have some new sounds and vibes that we're working on in this studio.
Yeah.
That Jamie's going to be a big part of a lot of it. So
very cool.
Yeah, and make sure just follow him on all your streaming services, because he puts out a lot of tracks, and it's usually pretty quiet in the night. And next thing you know, it pops up. So I like subscribing because, you know, I don't always see it on Instagram or whatever, but when it comes up in my streaming service, that's the best way to catch this guy, I think.
Very cool. All right, y'all, this will be available streaming right after we end the live stream. Again, thank you both for coming through. Make sure y'all go pick this up. And if you're in Miami, go check out the event that these gentlemen talked about earlier. It sounds like a fantastic time. Trav, run it back one more time. Where is this and what time?
It's at Technique Records, which is one of Miami's biggest record stores. Shout out Mikey for always holding it down for the community, and for Caro, and for Mike Deuce. They're just an amazing crew over there. So it's off 79th Street east of US 1, and come through from noon to 5 p.m. There's going to be free pastelitos. We'll have some rum and seltzer cans, some free liquid death, and lots of great Latin soul, funk, and lo-fi vibes.
I love that. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. I want to thank everybody that tuned in. Waxvillain, Seattle, Washington. We're out of here.
Thank you, man.